The movie kicks off with Elizabeth in a car. She's daydreaming about finding some genius guy who'd whisk her away to a secret, awesome world. That guy is Dr. Henry Koverg, her brand new husband, and he's the one driving the car. When they roll up to his house, he introduces her to the housekeeper, a lady named Claire, and his son, Oliver, who's blind. After that, they have a huge dinner before heading to bed. The next morning, Henry gives her a tour of the house, which has dozens of rooms. Every single room has a special lock that opens with a thumbprint. It's programmed to recognize Henry and Elizabeth's prints, but there's one room she can't go into, and Henry makes her promise she won't set foot in it. Then he starts kissing her in the hallway, but Claire sees them. Afterward, Henry tells her he's leaving in the morning for work. The next day, Elizabeth asks Claire about lunch. She uses this as an excuse to ask about Henry, because she saw his Nobel Prize and can't figure out why a genius like him would marry a regular chick like her. Claire tells her she doesn't know and walks off. At night, Elizabeth looks out the window and notices Claire and Oliver leaving the house in the middle of the night. No matter how hard she tries to sleep, Elizabeth can't do it. So she decides to check out what's in that forbidden room. In there, she finds a lab with a bunch of weird machines. She opens one of the machines and is shocked to see a face that looks exactly like hers. Elizabeth runs out of the room after tripping on something and cutting her arm. After bandaging the cut, she tries to make a phone call, but there's no signal. Then she crashes and doesn't wake up until noon the next day. Elizabeth can't stop thinking about what she saw. After they talk about their day, Elizabeth tells Henry about the phone. Henry says it's totally normal in this area. Then he asks her about the cut, and she tells him it was just an accident. After that, they head into their room. Elizabeth is bummed out and cries the whole time. In the middle of the night, Henry gets out of bed, and Elizabeth follows him. She gets to the stairs, and Henry finds her and tells her she's going to be punished for disobeying him. Then he whips out a machete and starts chasing her through the house. Elizabeth tries to run away, but the locks won't open with her print. She hides in the closet, and Henry comes in looking for her, but he leaves when he doesn't see her and goes to sit in the living room. When Elizabeth finally comes out, she finds the living room empty, so she grabs a fireplace poker and tries to go up the stairs, but Henry was hiding behind her. He grabs her leg and makes her fall. Then he comes up to kill her with the machete. The next day, Claire and Oliver help him bury the body in the woods, and then they have breakfast together. Claire tells Henry to stop all this before he gets caught, but he refuses. Later that afternoon, his friend Frank Logan, a detective, visits them. After telling him that Elizabeth is sleeping, Henry asks Frank what's bothering him. Frank tells him he's worried because the department is investigating a bribery case. Frank got away with it, but some of his friends didn't, and he's going to have to testify against them. Henry tells him it's better to be the executioner than the one being tortured. This confuses Frank. Meanwhile, Claire is writing in her diary when Oliver interrupts her with some flowers. Claire turns them down and tells him to stop giving her gifts, but Oliver asks her why she stays if she's miserable. She says she stays because she knows things, but Oliver thinks she stays because she loves Henry. After sending him away, Claire takes her pills. 6 weeks later, in the middle of a drive through the mountains, Elizabeth wakes up from a dream that she would find a genius guy who'd whisk her away to a secret, awesome world. Her wedding dress is different, but the routine is the same. Henry introduces her to the family, shows her the house, and Claire watches them from a distance. He makes her promise she won't go into the forbidden room. After dinner and dancing, they head to their room. Before they go to sleep, Henry tells her he's leaving again for work. Elizabeth can't sleep, so she gets up and finds Claire smoking. She tells her she wants to know more about Claire herself. Just as Claire is about to tell her something, Henry interrupts and takes her to the room. The next morning, Elizabeth wakes up alone in the house. After wandering around for a bit, she finally gives in and goes into the forbidden room. She finds the second copy of herself in the machine and runs. But this time, the capsule opens, and the other copy of her gets out and runs after her. The second copy finds Elizabeth sleeping. After making sure Claire and Oliver aren't there by looking out the window, she starts to touch Elizabeth's face and pulls up her pajamas. The next morning, Elizabeth wakes up and finds her clothes pulled up. Henry finds her and asks if she's okay, so she goes into the bathroom to wash her face. Henry tries to follow her in. She tries to lock the door, but she can't. Henry comes into the bathroom, and when she hears him telling her she disobeyed him, Elizabeth tries to run away. But Henry quickly tackles her and starts choking her with a towel. After a short struggle, she manages to kick him away and runs again, but she finds that the front door lock won't accept her thumbprint and the windows are unbreakable. So Elizabeth runs to the kitchen and grabs some knives. Meanwhile, Henry pours a sedative onto a cloth. Then Henry goes to the living room to play the piano. Then he leaves a recording playing to make Elizabeth think he's still there. His plan works. Elizabeth comes out of her hiding spot in the kitchen, and Henry appears from behind her and shoves the cloth over her nose and mouth. Elizabeth tries to fight him off until she falls asleep, but she's pretending so she can free herself. Then she snaps her eyes open, throws her hand over her shoulder, and stabs Henry, killing him. They both fall to the floor. As Henry bleeds, the sedative kicks in, and Elizabeth passes out. She wakes up hours later, drags Henry's body to the door, and tries to use his fingers to open the lock, but it doesn't work. Then she cleans the floor and covers Henry's body with a jacket to hide him. She takes a shower and takes off her wedding ring. Then she burns her bloody pajamas. Then, while sleeping on the couch, she's suddenly woken up by a phone ringing. It's Henry's phone, and there are lots of missed calls from Claire. Elizabeth calls 911 and tells them she's locked in her house, but she doesn't know the address. Sadly, before she can give them more info, Claire and Oliver come back, so Elizabeth hangs up and pretends she's been reading the whole time. The two are shocked to find her there, and they figure Henry's upstairs sleeping. This makes Claire super stressed, so she runs to the balcony. She manages to call 911 before having a heart attack, but she passes out. The ambulance comes quickly to take her away. Elizabeth wants to take the chance to leave, but Oliver stops her. He tells her if she leaves, he won't be able to protect her from the police. He knows Henry is dead, and he tells her he believes Claire when she said she killed him in self-defense. He even tells her the phrase she was dreaming about, the secret, awesome world. Then he tells her to show him where the body is. After that, they take the body to the furnace, and Oliver asks Elizabeth about her past. She tells him that when she was a kid, she was sick and spent all her time in the hospital, and that her parents died in a car accident, and she grew up in an orphanage. Oliver tells her that those memories happened in the other house nearby, where he and Claire sleep. She was there until she was 8 years old. He tells her Claire would explain better, because she was part of the experiment, but he gives it a shot and tells her she was cooked up in the forbidden room like an egg that made 6 identical genetic copies, and she's Elizabeth, copy number 5. Just then, they see Frank's car coming, so Oliver quickly gives her some pointers on how to handle the situation. Elizabeth met him once before, and Henry said she wasn't around much because she had a sleep disorder. Then she welcomes Frank into the living room and tells him that Henry is sleeping because he's not feeling well. Oliver goes to get them some water, so Frank asks her if she's okay because he heard about the 911 call she made. Oliver comes back and tells him that Claire called when she had the heart attack, and Elizabeth walks with him into the library. When Oliver leaves the room to get something else, Frank notices it's weird that everyone in this house has a problem. Elizabeth and her sleep disorder, Claire and her bad heart, Oliver is blind, and now Henry isn't feeling well either. But he suddenly dies when Oliver comes back with a rifle and shoots him. He tells Elizabeth that Henry was paying Frank off ever since he caught another copy of Elizabeth and brought her back home 3 years ago. Henry killed that copy too, just like he's done with all the copies up until now. After Elizabeth turned 8, they put her back in the tank, which is why she has a memory gap. And they only took her out for physical therapy and to fill her head with memories and events, and also to tweak her personality. Elizabeth doesn't want to hear any more about the experiment, so she helps Oliver take the body to the furnace again. Then Oliver tells her to pack a bag with clothes and money from the safe so she can get away. Before she leaves, he tells her to read Claire's diary, because he can't and needs important info from it. He locks Elizabeth in until she finishes reading the diary. Since she has nothing else to do, she starts reading the diary to find out how all this started. Everyone knew about Henry's inventions in cell research and that he went independent and became a billionaire after patenting some super important cell procedures. 5 years ago, he suddenly invited Claire to his house. He knew about her work in neurological diseases, so he wanted her to work with him. He took her to the forbidden room and showed her the copies he made with his wife Elizabeth, who died giving birth to Oliver due to a super rare type of Werner syndrome. Henry took her DNA and cloned her. He managed to make 6 identical copies, but the first 2 copies showed complications at birth and died quickly, so he decided to put the remaining 4 to sleep by freezing them until someone found a cure. That was Claire's job. She said no at first because of ethics, but Henry quickly talked her into it when he explained the unique global opportunity she'd have. 2 years later, Claire cracked the code, so they started working on putting memories into the copy's mind. Elizabeth, copy number 3, woke up physically healthy, but she was confused and couldn't remember things for a long time. After a few days, Elizabeth found the harvest room and ran. That's when Frank found her and brought her back home and told Henry she was Claire's niece who had mental issues. However, Frank had to file a report, so Henry paid him off to keep it secret. Just then, Oliver interrupts her reading when he comes to bring her some food. He apologizes for locking her up, but tells her they're on the same team. Elizabeth jumps him as soon as he opens the door and asks for the code to the door before tying him up with his belt so he can't escape. He gives her a code, but Oliver is lying, and when she goes to check it, he has already escaped. After going through the kitchen and grabbing a knife, Elizabeth goes to the harvest room, and there, she finds Oliver doing physical therapy on the last copy to keep her alive. He swears he'll let her go after she finishes reading the diary, and as she gets closer to see the copy, he injects a sedative into her neck. After dreaming about all the things she and the other copies went through, Elizabeth wakes up in her room, tied to the furniture. Oliver left her some food. Trying to break the chain was useless, so she goes back to reading the diary. After Frank was paid off, Henry and Claire kept up their tests. But after a few days, Elizabeth copy number 3 died from suffocation. Henry said he found her face down on the pillows. Claire didn't believe him, but she didn't ask any questions either. Then they go and bury her in the woods before going back to do more research. 6 months passed until they ran out of all options. So when Henry started losing hope, Claire finally gave it a shot and spent the night with him. And after they finished, Henry said he wanted to turn off the machines because they weren't working, even though Claire didn't agree. In the present, Oliver brings more food and offers Elizabeth an info swap. Elizabeth tells him that Claire didn't mention him and that she started a relationship with Henry after failing to crack the code. But Oliver corrects her and tells her that she didn't fail, but Henry ruined the samples. In return, Oliver tells her that she actually got cured, and all the copies lived there until they turned 8. Meanwhile, he was at a boarding school. He came back when he was 12 and met Elizabeth, copy number 2, who he thought was the most beautiful person because he wasn't blind back then. They quickly became friends, but Henry couldn't handle it, so he got jealous and attacked Oliver while he was sleeping, making him blind. After saying he hated seeing Henry and Elizabeth together, he left the room, and Elizabeth went back to reading the diary. Claire broke off the relationship when she realized she couldn't replace the real Elizabeth, who Henry wouldn't stop talking about. And when she asked him what he really wanted, he confessed that he wanted to relive his wedding night with Elizabeth again. At first, Claire didn't want to help him, but since she couldn't leave the place either, she ended up helping him revive Elizabeth number 4. While working on her body, she mentions she couldn't find any records of Elizabeth's birth, and she suggests that Oliver might be a copy of Henry. So Henry tells her he was always worried that Elizabeth would prefer the younger guy she fell for, not the older copy. In the present, Elizabeth gets super upset about this news and stops reading the diary for a while. After 2 days of no one being around, Oliver wakes her up with scissors to her neck and a bleeding hand. He refuses to tell her where he's been. Elizabeth tells him the info he wants and tells him that Claire thought he was a copy, but Henry showed her the birth certificate and made her call the doctor. So Oliver is Henry's son, and now he can be whoever he wants. Oliver can't handle these facts, so he starts crying. Elizabeth thought he loved her, so she convinces him to come closer, and she promises they can be together now. As soon as he gets closer, she shoves him away, grabs the scissors and the key to the chain, and asks for the real code to the door. When she starts hitting him angrily, the 6th and final copy of Elizabeth shows up and interrupts them. She has a rifle, is wearing a wedding dress, and calls Oliver Henry. Elizabeth number 5 tries to tell her that Oliver is the bad guy, but Elizabeth number 6 believes him. She makes number 5 fall to the ground and gives her a chance to get the scissors and stab Oliver in the leg. Then she takes Oliver hostage, but that ain't enough to stop Elizabeth number 6, who fires the rifle, kills Oliver, and wounds the copy before her. Elizabeth number 5 runs out of the room and finally opens the door with the correct code. But as soon as she gets outside, Elizabeth number 6 appears and shoots her again. Before she dies, number 5 tells her to read Claire's diary to find out the truth. After washing up and changing her clothes, Elizabeth number 6 decides to read the diary while eating breakfast. The night Henry killed Elizabeth number 4 with the scythe, Claire heard her screams and went to see what was happening. Instead of explaining, Henry tells Claire that all his property is now in Claire's name. This is so she can keep up her research. Claire threatens to call the cops, but Henry tells her that no one will believe her because Elizabeth was already dead to the world, and she gave herself to Henry in marriage and then died. But now she brought him happiness outside the law by letting him kill her over and over. Henry felt no shame because these copies never felt like the real Elizabeth. Claire tells him to stop, and Henry promises he'll try his best. In the present, Claire comes back from the hospital and meets Elizabeth at the door. Elizabeth is holding a bag full of her stuff and is ready to leave. She gives Claire the diary and tells her she won the house and the money, so she better do something good with them. Then she walks away, and finally moves on and wakes up from all the stuff they forced into her mind. And that's where our movie ends. I hope you liked it, and I hope you hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Love you guys. Bye-bye.